Just a quick reminder, I know most of you have logged in individually, one person, one computer, which is the way it should be. If there's multiple of you sitting at one computer, sharing one computer, please in the chat panel, not the Q&A panel, post the names of all the VISTAs who are sitting with you. Again, we do need to keep track to make sure that you are in attendance and get a record of today's webinar, because a lot of the information today will be very useful for you as we go through your year of service. So, guess who's here?
It's Jessica Burns, along with who?
Eric Powell. And we're really, really excited once again because we know today is day 3 of your service. Again, we're in Washington, D.C., and we'll be your hosts for today's webinar.
That's right. We're so excited that you're here, that you joined us for day 3. And this is one of my most fun activities. I'm really excited for it, Eric.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Are you ready?
Ready? They're going to flip the slide now. All right, that didn't work as well as I hoped. But there it is.
Ooh, that looks like the United States.
It is the United States, Eric, and they know where we are. They know that we're in Washington, D.C., but we want to know where you are. So using the annotation tools on the upper left side of your screen, click on the one that looks like an arrow on the far left and use it to point to where you're serving, as Andy has shown us here on the screen. I love it. It just like starts popping in.
I know.
Let's see where
Oh,
everyone's
yes, we have a Vista in, no, that's Alaska. Christine, way to go.
I love it.
I've been there once. I want to go back.
Christina and David. David, I served in Alaska too. I love it.
Got a lot of Vistas in Alabama and Arizona, representing the South and Southwest.
Kira's serving at the arrow pointy tool.
She's serving the whole globe.
Sultan is at Hawaii.
Yep.
Nice, nice. Everybody jealous of Sultan's assignment there?
I know, seriously. Can I just site visit? And it's great to see that, as we expected, there's a lot of Vistas coming kind of along the whole northeastern seaboard, just because we do have a lot of Vistas and it's very populated up there.
Exactly. One thing I'm kind of surprised is, like, there's no Vista in California.
or Florida.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I see some of you are moving around. I don't know if you're in your car and your arrow's just moving, but this is great.
And just remember, I just want to give everyone a reminder, if you're calling from a smartphone or a tablet, which hopefully you're not, it doesn't have all of the same functionality. So if you're able to join from a laptop or a desktop, that is the best way to go so that you can have as much fun as Lauren Hooper, Nikki Ridley, and Max Tuppins are having. So thank you all. We love being able to see where you all are serving. And as you can see, there's a ton of you here in almost all states. Someone is serving there, and you guys are all together here from across the country. So we're very excited to have you here. So now that you're in your 3rd day as a VISTA member, we hope that it's going well. We have a few questions here for you. You know, we expect that you're participating in on-site orientation and training during your first weeks of VISTA service. And during that time, you're probably learning about your organization, how things get done there, what the culture of the office is, and what you'll be doing as a VISTA. But we wanted to start our time together today to go over the benefits that you're eligible for and give you some additional resources at where you can learn more about these benefits. So our great partners, Andy and Scott, have launched the poll here. So what kind of benefits do you want to learn more about? Healthcare, that's always a big one. Do I have health insurance? What things can I get reimbursed for? Maybe even the living allowance, you know, how much am I going to get paid? Or the education award, how long do I have to use it? How much is the education award? So just take a few seconds, choose which one on there. If it's not on there, type in the chat, maybe what's not shown on the screen, and we'll take a look.
Yeah, these are really good. I know in looking at these when I was a VISTA back in the wee ice age time of 2006, it seems like that was ages ago, but it just seemed like all of these were pressing, and I'm not sure which one I would have highlighted as my most important. But
I know. If you had to guess, though, Eric, which one do you think is going to rule out?
I would guess probably A, followed very closely by D.
Really? I'm thinking C. I'm thinking education award is probably on the forefront of everyone's mind here. So
we'll give you guys just 10 more seconds to fill this out. Again, if you don't fill it out, it's not a big deal, but it's just a really good activity to see how this presentation can be adapted to make sure we get as many questions answered as possible.
And there are questions coming in the chat that, obviously weren't on our list here, such as reimbursement. Some people have questions about loan deferment and forbearance. That is on there, but that's a big one we know. Some child care questions. And darn it, Eric, I don't like it when you're right. Because
oh, wow. I'm actually kind of surprised.
You're like really right there. Most of it was healthcare, followed very closely by loan deferment and forbearance. I don't know how you knew that, Eric, but I'll give you the pass.
Lucky guess.
That's it. So, Eric, what are we going to go over today?
Well, there's a lot we want to cover, and so we'll start with the basics. This session is all about you. You are the VISTA, you're serving your community, but in order to serve your community in an unselfish way, you do kind of have to serve yourself. And by doing that, we want to explain to you how the benefits will help you serve successfully. We want to make sure that you can find information and resources and details about your VISTA benefits. And we know you all took the Terms and Conditions course, so we're not going to go over it in detail, but we want to make sure that some of the key elements of that course are really, really something that you can understand and grasp.
So let's start by looking at two of the main websites that you're going to use as a VISTA member, which are the VISTA Campus and myAmericorps.gov. The MyAmericorps site is where you applied for your position. You did that really long application process, but you got through it, and that's what counts. This is also where you entered your direct deposit information and where you can access your VISTA assignment description, which is a good segue because you're going to need that for your first assignments that are due Sunday. The VISTA Campus is where you completed your onboarding courses and tutorials, but the campus is so much more than just that. There are opportunities for ongoing learning, ways to connect with one another, and find out all about your benefits. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into all that the VISTA Campus has to offer.
Put your scuba gear on because we're going to dive really deep.
Oh, man, that was cheesy.
Yeah, actually it was. So let's just move on. So by now you've already created your account on the VISTA Campus. Great. To make it easier for you to find the resources you need, we're going to take a look at how the campus is organized. And you probably are familiar with this pretty much. But as you can see, we'll start with Life as a VISTA, which is circled on the screen. You've already been to some of these resources. You've completed the pre-service courses before attending this PSO. But also, as you go to the in-service resources, they'll be useful while you're serving as a VISTA. You'll probably want to refer back to the benefits of service, which we're going to talk about today. You will also need to refer to the VISTA Member Handbook, which is your guide to VISTA policy and a source of answers to many common questions that you'll have during your year.
The work section of the VISTA Campus provides those online tutorials, readings, and self-directed learnings on topics that are really related to your VAD, such as working with volunteers, maybe communication, fundraising, and so much more. The VISTA program area resources contain materials related to areas such as tutoring or financial literacy and education. So if your project relates to one of those, you'll want to look here. There are also additional resources around community development and project management, so definitely take some time to look at that. Before we move on to the next one, we did have a quick question here. I just want to make sure everyone's clear. The VISTA Campus is different from your VISTA Classroom, and you should have gotten instructions on how to log into your VISTA Classroom on Monday.
Yeah.
So these are two different websites, so just keep that in mind, and we will talk a little bit more about those assignments in your VISTA Classroom later on in the presentation.
In the Connect and Learn heading, which you've probably already been to, you'll find the VISTA Forum, sometimes called the Discussion Forum. And that's where you can get a chance to talk to fellow VISTAs, answer questions, get recipes, get suggestions for housing, and also find out more information about the VISTA online courses. As we mentioned earlier, the VISTA map that we saw earlier is a way to connect with VISTAs, and you can access it on the vistacampus.gov website. You can also find alumni serving in your area or serving across the country.
And under the Connect and Learn tab, we have VISTA webinars. It's really important to know that PSO is really just the start of your learning as a VISTA member. You're going to receive an invitation to your first webinar, which is planning your professional development within the next week or so. This session will help you develop a concrete plan for gaining the knowledge and skills that you're going to need to succeed and to fulfill your VAD. Your session for PYPD is what we call it, Planning Your Professional Development, is March 8th. Plus, every month we have webinars that offer a wide range of topics related to not only how to live as a VISTA, such as living on the living allowance and understanding your health care benefits, but also topics related to the work that you do as a VISTA, such as poverty in America or researching grants. We record these sessions and we offer them as webinars on demand. So if you miss a session, you're not able to join those live, don't worry, you can always view them on demand.
We also offer 2 amazing optional, not required, but optional courses. One is on volunteer mobilization, because many of you will be having to mobilize volunteers and get people engaged. The other one is on resource development. You'll be doing grant writing, might be doing other kinds of resource development. These courses combine the training you receive during your PSO with live webinars, online discussion groups, readings, and assignments. Let me quickly interject and say these online courses are separate from the PSO blend. The PSO blend is required. These online courses are optional, and you can certainly apply. They're completely free, and if you do pass the course, you can receive college credit recommendations. Also, if interested, I can't talk today. There's an Apply Now button on the screen that you can click, and it'll tell you when the next round of courses will be offered, which is typically scheduled for spring or summer of 2017. But they are amazing courses that last 10 to 12 weeks, and it's a great way to learn more information about each of those topics.
That's true, Eric. And you know, I would recommend everyone just take a look at it, bookmark this page, maybe set a reminder in your calendar or something to let you know when these next application dates are going to be, because they do fill up fast.
True.
So the next place that you're going to want to look, and another place you'll want to bookmark, is the VISTA Member Handbook. This is the one place that you can really reference the VISTA policies. So the left column allows you to quickly find a specific chapter. If you've not done so already, you should familiarize yourself with this information. Examples of the policy that it addresses are how much leave time do you have as a VISTA member? It can review the terms and conditions of service, laws and regulations like the Hatch Act I mentioned on Monday, and so much more. This should be your first stop if you have questions. It's generally in the VISTA Member Handbook, so just keep that handy as well.
Also, as a VISTA, there's a lot of benefits available during your year of service. If we were in person, I would ask you to raise your hand as to how many of you have already seen this benefits page, but we'll just pretend you're all 240 of you are waving to us right now. As you've seen, this page of the campus is an overview of all the benefits you're entitled to as a VISTA. Some benefits, such as the living allowance, are available to all VISTAs. Other benefits may only be useful for some of you, such as child care assistance. We will take a look at some of the more popular and most important benefits, especially the ones that you talked about earlier in the poll today, so we can get you more information. And if you need a quick reference, please take notes as we go through the slides.
So one thing about the next sessions we're going to go through, we're going to talk, as Eric mentioned, about a few of the benefits that are generally the highest priority for people. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about one topic. Our first one is going to be about the living allowance, and then we're going to have Q&A around the living allowance. Please, if you have questions, type them into the Q&A. We will have the phone lines open, so if you have called in and want to ask a question over the phone, you can do that. But we do have various Q&A sessions throughout this. So this first one, for example, will be questions related to the living allowance. So on that note, living allowance. I would say show me some hands, but I'm sure all of you are interested in knowing when you will receive your first living allowance payment. Well, that first living allowance payment, your first payment, full payment, is going to be Friday, the 24th of February. Now, you are starting in the middle of a pay period, which means you're serving a few days in the previous pay period. You may get some of those funds ahead of the 24th, so you may get some of those a little bit earlier, but your full living allowance, your full 14 days, your first one is going to be on Friday, the 24th of February. The living allowance schedule can be found on Vista Campus, and the link has been posted in the chat. So definitely this is a good document to have printed out or at least put a bookmark to it. A few things to know about the living allowance. You are paid every 2 weeks, which is not the same as twice a month. With your monthly amount, you can do the math to determine how much will appear in your bank account every 2 weeks before taxes. Because state taxes are not deducted, you need to determine what you owe to the state you are a resident of. We suggest you check with your state's tax office to figure that out. If you don't know what the amount of your living allowance is, you should first ask your VISTA supervisor. If that person does not know, you need to ask your state office, or you can contact the VISTA Member Support Unit through the National Service Hotline. You can also view the living allowance rates by county document that is on the VISTA campus to determine the living allowance amount for the county you're serving in. And that link has been posted as well. For those of you who are paid directly by the VISTA program, you can access your living allowance statements in your my.americorps.gov account. If you're paid by a grant, and by that I mean your organization cuts you a check every month, or they're the ones sending you your living allowance funds, your earning statements will not show up in your MyAmericorps account. And you'll need to contact your supervisor to find out what your pay schedule is and how to get the pay stubs. So, living allowance resources. From the benefits page on the VISTA campus, you can access the living allowance page. Click on the resources tab to access resources, find out more information about your living allowance, and learn how to live on the living allowance. There is a comment in here that it looks like the link we posted was actually for the previous year. The current one is up, and I will pull that link in the next slide here for the most updated one. Sorry about that, guys. We do have 2017, and it is on the VISTA campus. This section also talks about how to make ends meet on the campus forums. Once again, highlighting the importance of you guys contacting one another to see how each of you makes it work as a VISTA. With regard to your living allowance, you are paid through direct deposit, which means the money automatically appears in your bank account every 2 weeks. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to make sure that you entered your bank account number and bank routing numbers correctly in your MyAmericorps account.
It's very important.
We cannot stress that enough. If you have entered information incorrectly, your living allowance will not arrive. And it could be up to 6 weeks until those funds are reissued to you. We want to pay you. Please let us pay you. Just make sure that it's right. The routing number and account numbers are on your checks. But if you're like me and you don't have checks, you can also find your account information on your bank's website. Just make sure you select the right bank. You probably already know this, but the account number on your debit card or your credit card is not your checking account number or your routing number, so please do not enter that. If you're confused or unsure about those numbers, what I recommend you do is you log into your MyAmericorps account, stare at your direct deposit field, and be on the phone with your bank and read out the numbers and have them confirm to you that everything is correct. That is the easiest, most efficient way for that to happen. One last thing related to the living allowance, and it's something that we have a lot of questions about. It's regard to public assistance, and we wanted to give you some information that can be pretty important to you. If you were already receiving public assistance, such as TANF or LIHEAP, your VISTA living allowance or any other payments you receive from the VISTA program should not affect your level of assistance that you receive. Likewise, if you're applying for new public assistance benefits, your living allowance should not be factored in when determining the level of benefits you receive. The sole exception to this is SNAP, or formerly known as food stamps. If you enroll in SNAP now, or at any time during your service year, your living allowance and other VISTA payments will be counted as income in calculating your eligibility and benefit level. If you were already receiving the SNAP benefit prior to joining VISTA, your benefit will remain unchanged. So, you were receiving it ahead of time, and now you're still receiving it, those benefits will not change. But if you started VISTA service and you're just applying now for SNAP, your living allowance will count towards income. Please realize that public benefits are managed by state and local entities, and that AmeriCorps Vista, the Corporation for National and Community Service, is not involved in any way, shape, or form on how they are administered. So you'll want to speak to a caseworker at the state and local level for advice. In about a week, you will have access to a letter that you can print citing the authority for income disregard from your homepage in your myamericorps.gov account. Whew, Eric, that was a lot, and I'm sure there are questions now. So I'm going to ask the operator to join us and just remind everyone how to ask a question over the phone, and then we'll take some of your questions about the living allowance. Operator, are you there?
Yes, thank you. To ask a question from the phone lines, please press *1. You will be prompted to unmute your phone and record your name. Again, it's *1 to ask a question. One moment, please, for the first question.
Thank you. Eric, did you see me while I was reading every single word ever known to man? Did you see anything come in?
I did, and thank you for that detail. That was really, really helpful. I guess we'll start with the easy one. And Cynthia asked, do we pay Social Security as VISTA members? So the answer is no. If for some reason that changes, we'll let you know, but based on past history and past living allowance statements that we've had and the work we've done, VISTA typically do not pay into Social Security. The second question comes from Kimberly. If we have already put our direct deposit information in, but will be changing banks later, can we update it, and will it not affect getting paid on time?
This is a great question. So yes, so if you put in direct deposit now, in a month your account changes, yes, you can definitely update that information. What I'm about to say to you is all going to sound a little kind of weird, but please take my advice on this. If you need to change your direct deposit information, never do it on a Tuesday. I know it sounds a little weird, but we run payroll every other Tuesday. So if you change your information on a day that we're running payroll, it may go to the old account, it may go to the new account. So don't put yourself in that situation. If you're going to update it, just don't do it on a Tuesday. And I would recommend, if you can, to keep the previous bank account open, input the information for the new bank account, and once you confirm that your new bank account, that you've received a living allowance in your new bank account, then you can close out the old one. That's really the best way to ensure you always get your money and all that good stuff. And I'm sorry, I got all distracted because Delisa said, no switching direct deposit on Tuesday. I love it.
And also remember, to Jessica's point, if you do switch your direct deposit, just be aware that whatever you switch it on, it could potentially be up to 2 weeks before the money goes into your new account, just because of the way the pay period cycle is. So as Delisa said, just be smart about what you do and when you do it. So before we go to a few more questions about living allowance on the webinar, Crystal, are there any queued up on the phone?
No, sir. There are no questions from the phone lines.
Okay. I see one question that kind of relates to living allowance, and I don't think we have a slide about it, so we'll answer it now. Taylor asked, can you give me more information about the relocation allowance?
Yeah, so Taylor, just a brief overview of relocation. If you relocate for service, which means your home of record, like where you were living when you accepted your VISTA position, is more than 50 miles away from your project site location, you're eligible for relocation assistance, which means, money for the mileage to travel to your new location, as well as the settling in allowance. If you are eligible for those items, the VISTA Member Support Unit would have already been in contact with you. If you've not received contact from them and you think that you are eligible, you should contact the VMSU through the National Service Hotline. Great
answer. There's definitely a lot more questions. We're going to try to answer a couple more and we'll move on, but we will have more time additional at the end of the presentation. So Summer asked a good question. So February 24th, which is our first official full pay date, is over 3 weeks away. If we're paid every 2 weeks, why is it going to be so long? As Jessica pointed out, it's simply just because we do pay visits every 2 weeks, but because of when your official start date is, it falls at kind of an awkward time in the middle of a pay period, so the first pay cycle is offset slightly. It's not our desire. Of course, we want to pay you as quickly as we can, so our fabulous VISTA member support unit is working around the clock to get you activated in the system so that you'll get paid by February 24th. So yeah, it's just because of when your start date of the VISTA fell, it slightly offset your first official payday.
And related to that, Eric, someone here said that, you know, the cost of relocating and paying first and last month's rent really drain their savings. What happens if they run out of money before they get their first living allowance payment?
It's a great question. Basically, your supervisor and your organization do have a kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it, a temporary emergency fund if for some reason you need a little bit of money temporarily if you need to pay your rent and you don't have the money right then and there. It's typically a one-time allotment that you would have to pay back. But again, this is in case of extreme emergencies. Obviously, like I said, the VISTA Member Support Unit does a really good job of getting you activated and getting you in the system so that we can pay you as quickly as possible. So we try not to inconvenience you as much as possible.
Let's go back to the operator. Are there any questions over the phone?
We do have one question from the phone lines. That question is coming from Stedman. Sir, your line is open.
Hi there, Stedman.
Hi, my name is actually Desmond, but...
Desmond, hi, Desmond.
Hi, you already answered my question, so it's fine.
Woo, easiest question of the day, Eric.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
So I'm just scrolling, oh, sorry.
Please post in the Q&A. There are some questions. I can't help myself from answering questions in the chat, but please, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A so we can track them all.
There's a question, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it looks French, so I'm going to say Ivoire Lavan. He or she asked, how do we submit our hours for a living allowance? Basically, as a VISTA, you serve 365 days, you serve full-time, your supervisor determines your actual hours for service, whether it's 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 4:30, but your supervisor would be able to tell you how they track your time, and then from that, the VISTA program pays you full-time service, 365 days based on that. The last question I'll answer, and I think Jessica has one other question she'll answer before we move on, is Carly asked, when will our landlords receive our first $100 rent payment? I don't quite understand the question, but I will say, as AmeriCorps Vista, as a program, we don't pay your landlord anything. We pay you, the Vista, the living allowance. You would be responsible for paying whatever fees you have. If by chance you happen to have a position where maybe your supervisor or someone was able to find housing for you, they might be able to pay your landlord directly, but they wouldn't be able to pay you. So we as a VISTA program pay you directly your living allowance, and you can use that to pay your rent. But we don't pay anything directly to your landlord from the AmeriCorps Vista program.
A few other questions are just about, we'll go here. The food stamps. So there's a couple of questions about SNAP food stamps. The first one is just about, does the letter to disregard income not apply for SNAP? So the income disregard letter is used for SNAP benefits if you were receiving SNAP benefits prior to starting VISTA. Because what that's saying is that your income as a VISTA should not be counted in determining your level of benefits. So that's what that is. It is used for that. Another question about SNAP benefits is that if you accept food stamps, is there a consequence to our stipend? No. Food stamps, SNAP is administered through state and local counties. You can, that's that. Your living allowance is not affected. You will receive the same living allowance whether you have SNAP benefits or not. Like, that is not affected at all.
So please keep the questions coming. I know there's a lot, and as you go through the presentation, the ones that are personal or one-off questions we'll try to answer in the webinar. The ones that are more public we'll try to answer later. But we do have some pretty other important topics we want to get to. Excuse me. One of them being healthcare, because we know a lot of you said healthcare was your top or one of your top priorities in terms of learning about the benefits. So we're going to move on to healthcare and talk about how this benefit helps you and what you can do to make it the most effective for your service. We know that healthcare is a very important topic. There's very different methods of healthcare. We'll give you an overview of our VISTA healthcare allowance benefit. If you do have additional questions, especially ones specific to your own individual healthcare needs and circumstances, please talk to us after the session. The Affordable Care Act, which we all know is in place, governs access to health care, insurance, and its provisions apply to everyone, including you as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. You, as an AmeriCorps VISTA member and as a citizen, are required to have insurance under the Affordable Care Act unless you are exempt. If you are exempt, we, the VISTA program, offer a safety health benefit plan. This safety net covers emergencies, some out-of-pocket expenses, prescriptions, and other basic medical expenses. Due to the requirements set forth in the Affordable Care Act, which of course is out of our control as higher up legislation, some of you might be required to have additional insurance coverage. Please visit healthcare.gov and seek assistance from a healthcare navigator to determine your level of responsibility and avoid a tax penalty. I will also say, if you're unsure whether or not you could be exempt, you should visit healthcare.gov/exemptions, and there's a tutorial in there that'll help explain who's exempt from having to have health coverage. We know that healthcare is not a one-size-fits-all model, and that individual circumstances vary and may change during your year of service. We encourage you to review the Affordable Care Act and your personal circumstances, because you know them best, to find the best healthcare options that best suits your needs. So, let's go into a little bit more detail to help answer your question. Here are the options available to you, and only one of these options would fit your specific situation. If you have health insurance, you are eligible to enroll in the VISTA Healthcare Allowance, which provides a reimbursement to you of up to $6,850 for qualifying healthcare expenses. And this reimbursement of $6,850 is in addition and separate from your living allowance. So we're not taking the $6,850 out of your living allowance. It's in addition to it. This healthcare benefit allowance is limited to essential healthcare benefits, so elective and/or cosmetic procedures may not be covered. We do set the allowance at $6,850 because this is the maximum out-of-pocket expense any American will incur. If that amount ever goes up, we'll let you know, but as of right now, it's $6,850. And you can use the allowance towards your annual deductible or co-insurance costs, co-payments for office visits or prescriptions by themselves. However, please note the allowance will not reimburse you for the cost of buying health insurance or paying monthly premiums. I should also mention that as an AmeriCorps VISTA member, and I'm probably jumping ahead of myself, but as an AmeriCorps VISTA member, you are entitled to, we know that the application for the healthcare website just closed, but as an AmeriCorps VISTA member, you are entitled to up to 60 days from your start date, so 60 days from January 30th, you are still eligible to apply for insurance through the healthcare marketplace. However, keep in mind that although you have up to 60 days to apply, if you are going to apply, you really should apply within 30 days because sometimes it still takes several weeks after you apply for that to go through the system. Let me go over a few more details to make sure that we all understand what's going on. Both of these benefits that we talked about, the healthcare allowance, the $6,850 reimbursement, or the health benefit plan, if you're exempt, are administered by the International Medical Group, IMG. To receive a benefit, you must enroll. There is no automatic enrollment. You must make your selection on the AmeriCorpsVista.imglobal.com website to enroll. You will be able to enroll approximately 1 week from today, so if you tried to already enroll up until now, it would not work because you haven't officially been activated, but that will happen soon. And just remember, again, if you do apply for the health care through the marketplace, it can take several weeks to be processed, so we recommend you complete your application for other health care coverage immediately and no later than 30 days from your VISTA service. Final reminder, you cannot have both benefits. You choose one or the other. The other thing I'll mention about the healthcare allowance, which is new as of August 1st, 2016, so it's a good thing you guys are starting after August 1st, 2016. Coverage for routine dental and vision services will now be offered to all members participating in either the Vista Healthcare Allowance, the $6,850, or the Vista Health Benefit Plan. Routine dental coverage includes oral exams, x-rays, fillings, the emergency alleviation of pain, and possibly more. The routine vision coverage could cover annual eye exam and a complete pair of glasses or contacts annually. And then for the health benefits plan, any routine procedures, you would have to contact the International Medical Group directly. So, I know I spoke a lot, and there's a lot of questions. We're going to move to the healthcare Q&A portion of the webinar. If you do have questions, again, post them in the Q&A panel. You can also press *1 and ask them over the phone. We've generated a lot of questions, and you can continue to submit them at any time. But we'll first start by looking on the webinar to see if there's any questions we need to answer specifically about healthcare. Jessica, did you see any healthcare questions come up yet?
We have. I do just want to send a reminder, if anybody has a question over the phone, just remember, as the operator mentioned earlier, you can press *1 and state your name clearly so that you can ask a question over the phone. But yeah, Eric, what do you see in there?
And I apologize that I'm not doing them directly in order just because the questions are coming in so fast, but we'll try to get to them quickly. Claire asks, how do we access and utilize the $6,850? So in about a week or so, you'll get an email that will direct you to, you will have to create one more free account on the International Medical Group website. You'll click on the link, and that's where you'll choose, if you have your own health insurance, you can elect to participate in the healthcare allowance, which reimburses you up to $6,850. That website will give you more information as to how to submit receipts and how to access. You're basically drawing, that $6,850 is basically held in kind of like a virtual bank. So when and if you need it, you can deduct it, and that money goes towards your prescriptions, co-pays, et cetera. But that's how you would access it.
A couple of things coming in here. So I don't want to be, I don't play good cop, bad cop, where Eric's the good cop and I'm the bad cop, but there's a lot of questions coming in the chat. We are not monitoring the chat for questions. So please, if you have a question that you would like answered, put it in the Q&A. I know it's very easy to put it in the chat, very simple, everyone's talking in there, but it's just too hard for us to manage all of the questions in both. So please, please do that. One question that came in, does the health care benefit allowance include mental health care? So if you're talking about the allowance where you have other health insurance, if your health insurance covers mental health, if you get therapist appointments, psychiatric appointments with your insurance, then yes, the allowance can be used to pay for those co-pays and those sorts of things. If you're talking about the health benefit plan, the one if you don't have other health insurance, it does have limited mental health coverage. So just check on the website that Eric mentioned, and that can give you some more information.
Definitely. So that actually answers a couple of people's questions. So thank you for those questions. And we'll see what's next. Crystal, do we have any questions on the phone about health care?
No, sir. There are no questions in queue at this time.
So there was a question here, I think it's a good one, I'm sure it's on people's minds. Someone here asked, how sure are we that the Affordable Care Act is going to remain as it is? We cannot speak to what could happen with the Affordable Care Act. All we can do is we know what the policy is now. We know that the Affordable Care Act is the law of the land, and that everyone who is a U.S. citizen must have health insurance through the Affordable Care Act, or not if they have an exemption. I can't speak to, if we think it's going to change. So really, you should plan your health coverage, your health stuff as we're telling you is required by the ACA at this time and based on what we offer. If something changes, we'll definitely let you know, but there's no way for us to predict if there will be any changes within the next year or so.
Right. So, whoops, it just moved.
Remember, guys, there's a bunch of questions still coming in the chat. I'm looking at you, Krista.
I see Amaris asked, will AmeriCorps cover the monthly premium of IMG? I don't quite understand the question, but if the question is, will we cover the monthly cost of purchasing your own health insurance, that is not what the 6850 is for. The 6850 is for any deductibles you might have to pay if you have insurance, and let's say it's a $500 deductible before they start paying anything. We could reimburse you for the deductible, but if you had to pay $200 a month to purchase your insurance, the 6850 would not be eligible to cover that. Another question from Rebecca Harris. I have Medicaid. Does that fulfill the VISTA requirements? It's an interesting question. I know the answer. I'm trying to figure out how to answer it. So Medicaid does fulfill parts of the Affordable Care Act, which is not part of the VISTA program. So if you have Medicaid, you'd be okay in terms of the Affordable Care Act. In terms of the VISTA requirement, you could still go into the IMG website and apply for the health care allowance, potentially get up to $6,850 reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses, if you had any.
So we're going to take one or two more questions. We know that this is a big one. We will have Q&A at the end. Just as a heads up, this does go until 4:30. We do have a lot of information to cover, and please stay for the entire time because there are a lot of questions and a lot of good information to make sure you're in compliance with VISTA. So we're going to take two more questions and then move on to the next topic. There is a question. Eric, did you already answer a question about monthly premiums?
I did.
You did, great. So let's take a look here. Actually, we'll do one more question. Hala, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, she said, do we pay for out-of-pocket things ourselves first and then ask for a reimbursement? How do we go about doing that? That is correct. You do pay for those things out of pocket, and then if you have, if you have other health insurance and you sign up for our allowance, then yes, you'll pay your copay, and then you'll submit documentation to IMG, which is our healthcare provider, and then they will reimburse you. And more instructions about that are available on IMG's website. So now we're going to move on. As we said, we're going to still be here, so it's, we'll still get to the questions. We just want to move on to another huge topic, which is the end of service benefit. This is a big one for everyone, so let's talk a little bit about this. So if you selected the end of service education award, the education award is good for 7 years after completing service. So you're going to end in 2018. So yours is going to be good through 2025, right here?
That sounds right.
2025. It is taxable in the calendar year that it is used. You can use all of your education award at one time, or you can use it incrementally if you want to take a class here or there. If you did select the education award, in about a week you will have a new link in your MyAmeriCorps account called My Education Award, where you will see the details of and can submit education award payment requests at the end of your service. That education award can be used to pay federal loans or to pay for future education at any Title IV institution, which just means that it's an institution that accepts federal funds. And then there are also institutions that match the education award. So some schools will double the amount that you received if you are accepted into that program. The cash stipend. So the cash stipend, if you selected that, is paid out via direct deposit in the last 2 living allowance payments you receive. It's $1,500, and it is taxable in the calendar year that it is received. As I mentioned on Monday, if you select the education award, you can change it to the cash stipend at any time prior to your 10th month of service. But if you have selected the cash stipend, you are unable to change it. Also, just a thing, you can't have both of these. Neither benefit costs you anything in the sense that it doesn't deduct anything out of your living allowance payments, so just keep that in mind. Another big topic related to education award was loan forbearance and deferment. These are ways that you can postpone the repayment of federally backed student loans. So if you chose the education award, you can request forbearance. What that means is that you will not make monthly loan payments during your service year. And if you complete your term successfully, the National Service Trust will pay for the accrued interest for that year, which is an added benefit. It doesn't deduct it from your education award amount, but it is taxable in the year that it is paid out. Forbearance is processed through your My AmeriCorps account under the My Education Award link that you'll have in about a week. Forbearance is not guaranteed, and you have to initiate the process with your lender. So definitely make that request in there as soon as possible and talk to your lender to make sure that they'll accept it. If you selected the end-of-service stipend, you can request loan deferment by applying directly to your lender and giving the reason of economic hardship. For federally subsidized loans, accrued interest may be paid by the Department of Education if the loan is deferred. With this, you really need to check with your lender for specifics. As I mentioned, loan deferment is not guaranteed, and your lender may not offer it. Also, a quick note about Perkins loans. Perkins loans may be partially forgiven if you elect to receive the cash stipend. So you can visit our Education Award website for more information. And a few other student loan help, just a few other quick things. There is another strategy called income-based repayment. This adjusts your monthly payments based on income. So as a VISTA, your payments will be pretty low, and you could pay with income-based repayment as low as $0. It won't reduce the amount that you have to pay back, but it will shrink your monthly payments to a manageable amount. Another strategy that works really well in concert with income-based repayment is public service loan forgiveness. So if you're planning on, maybe joining the federal government, working for a local nonprofit or a state government, or working in the education sector, this might be a good program for you. So what this means is that if you work in a public service position for 10 years and make 120 on-time payments during that time, any balance on your federal loans is forgiven after 10 years. You apply for this at the end of 10 years, but you'll want to learn now about the type of records you'll need to keep in order to apply. A lot of questions we get about this. Does it have to be 10 consecutive years? No. You can do 1 year, then work in the private sector for 6, and then come back and do the other 9. But your payments have to be paid while you're working in public service. So your payments during the private sector time won't count towards the 120 payments. Another question that we get, or another thing that happens, you guys are really gung-ho, you're proactive, which we appreciate, and you'll try to start this process for your VISTA year now because your VISTA year counts as one of the 10 years. But your form, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness form, can't be filled out until you've actually finished your service year. So don't try to submit that payment quite yet or submit that form quite yet to the VISTA Member Support Unit because it'll have to be done once you end service. For more information about the Education Award, you can go to the Education Award website that I mentioned, nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward. And then, as I mentioned, to create the forbearance request, you would go into your My AmeriCorps account under My Education Award, and that'll be available to you in about a week. So, Eric.
Before we go to questions, I just have one more thing that I forgot to add into the PowerPoint, and I'll post the link. So many of you who are thinking of taking the Education Award, there's a potential that you could, if you're going back to school, get an educational institution, aka a school, to match, meaning double or sometimes even triple the value of the Education Award. So I just posted in the chat the link on the VISTA campus to the institutions that will match the Education Award. Just keep in mind quickly that it's up to each institution, so the institution would have to approach the AmeriCorps VISTA program and say, we're interested in doing this partnership. So if you went to a school or want to go to a school, you'd have to check with them, but I just wanted to put that out there since we're talking about the Education Award. Jessica, what were you?
Now we're just going to go to questions.
Nice.
That was great. Perfect segue. So remember, ask a question over the phone, press *1 and state your name clearly. And remember, questions that come in to the Q&A, we will be more than happy to answer. So let's take a look at some of the questions that came in about the Education Award. Let's see, Eric, did you see any?
I saw one. Let me see if I can quickly find it. And again, like Jessica said, we do have a lot of questions, and we're trying to get to them during the presentation. I see Can the education award be used to pay student loans? Great question from Ivy. Oh, I like that name. It's like a flower. Not a weed, because weeds are not good. Yes, so the education award can be used at any Title IV institution, and it can be used to pay off current student loans or for future education. So hopefully that easily answers that question.
There was a question here, a few quick ones. Is the cash stipend taxed? Yes, it is. It is taxed in the calendar year you receive it. So you're going to end in 2018, so it would be taxed then. So yes, it would be taxed.
Kimberly asked, since our service has already begun, can we still change to loan forbearance? The answer is yes, but it's not really changing. Basically, in the next couple of days, if it's not already there, you'll have a new link in my.americorps.gov that says My Education Award. Click on that link, and then there'll be a button that you can click to submit a loan forbearance request. And we're actually going to be talking about loans in a few minutes. So I just wanted to mention that, yes, you can still submit a loan forbearance a loan forbearance
request.
Thank you.
Another question that came in, can you transfer your education award to your child? The answer is no. AmeriCorps Vista members are not able to transfer an education award to another person. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Trust us, we've asked if that can happen for Vistas, and it would literally take an act of Congress. So it's not as easy as us just changing a policy. Sarah asks, is there a list of schools that double the education award? I'm going to ask our partners at Education Northwest to go to the slide before this one. That education award website, the nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward, that is where there is a list of schools that can double the education award, so check that out.
And I just reposted the link in the chat.
You are the greatest human alive, Eric. Thank you.
Crystal, do we have any questions on the phone?
We do. We have one question coming from Kelsey Mason. Ma'am, your line is open.
Yes, I recently changed from the stipend to the education award. Were we able to do that? I didn't know if the change had went into effect or not.
Did you already make that change in your account?
Yes, I have, under the My AmeriCorps.
Yes, and did it save?
Really?
Yes, it did.
Okay, then you should be fine. The reason why I ask is because once you're officially activated and started in service, you are able to change from the education award to the cash stipend up until the end of your 10th month of service, but you're not able to change from the cash stipend to the education award. But if you made it in the past couple of days and it went through, then yep, you're good to go.
Okay, and you said we can use that for current student loans, because I'm currently a student.
Yes,
and I
as long as it's a Title IV institution, and most educational institutions are, but you can always check with them, but it has to be Title IV.
Okay, is there something we have to fill out to get the process started, or?
There is, so the thing you need to remember is twofold, and I'll try to say it really quickly because student loans can take a long time, but there's two pieces. One is the loan forbearance. You can put your loans into forbearance, which just means you don't have to pay any student loans while you're serving as a VISTA. But the second piece is the end of service. So the education award isn't actually available for you to use until after your year of service over. So you still have a full year, or you'd have to go back into my.americorps.gov, click on a link, select your loan lender, and submit it to them through the my.americorps.gov website.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And then we'll take one more question. Right now, like I said, we'll still be here. Let's take a look. Eric, I'm trying to find like a really good one here.
And we do have one more over the phone lines.
All right, we'll take that one over the phone.
Okay, and the question is coming from Oluchi. Your line is open.
I just wanted to just understand properly. It's more about the health, not about the changing of the education. If we have dental, does the health benefit thing also cover it? Like we already have dental insurance and stuff with it. Like before I did AmeriCorps, I was with a different organization. So I wanted to know if the other one, the one that basically supplemented, if it covers it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, and so the quick answer is yes. If you have dental insurance now and if you select the health care allowance, the reimbursement of up to $6,850, then yes, part of that would go to reimburse some of your dental expenses.
What did you say it reimburses up to how much?
$6,850.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, again, thank you guys for your questions. We know there's still a lot more coming in, and we're trying to get to them, but there are still some other significant benefits we want to get to in the presentation, so we can at least get most of the critical questions answered and then follow up with the ones afterward. So, we're going to quickly move to show you a few things that you may or may not be aware of in the MyAmericorps system. So, again, once you're activated in the system, you start getting paid, you will see some new options in the left-hand corner of the screen. If you relocated to Serve, be sure to update your address by clicking on Edit My Contact Information. And also, when you click on Edit My Contact Information, please, please, please make sure you update your email address to one that you use on a regular basis. We don't email you all the time, but we need to make sure we can get in touch with you if we need to. Secondly, the My Living Allowance link. Your monthly living allowance statement will, will not be mailed to you. Instead, you can view and print them through your member homepage by clicking on the My Living Allowance link. As Jessica was talking about taxes come, I guess, next year, the My Tax Statements link is where you'll access your W-2, which is what you use to file your federal taxes, and you'll access your 1099 miscellaneous form if you use any of your education awards. Also, many of you are asking questions about a service letter, whether it's to be used for different kinds of benefits, government benefits, private benefits, et cetera. You'll click on My Service Letter. Now, keep in mind that link may not be available just yet. It might still take a couple more days to a week just because it takes a long time to get all of you updated in the system. But that link is where you can access 3 service letters for various purposes while you're serving as a VISTA. And finally, we just spoke about the Education Award and student loans briefly. If you did select the Education Award, you will also have a My Education Award link. And as I said earlier, this is where you'll be able to access information to submit a loan forbearance request, and then at the end of your year of service, that's where you'll go to submit your payments to pay your Education Award towards student loans or future tuition. If you do have questions about this, number one, as we said, we have an amazing, and I literally mean an incredibly amazing staff at our VISTA Member Support Unit. First, of course, we ask that you check out the VISTA campus and healthcare.gov and all the resources before you call them, just because a lot of the resources that we have, you can easily get an answer to, and that way you have your answer right in front of you. But if you need to call them, the number's on the screen, 800-942-2677. You can also send a message to the National Service Hotline, which will be routed to the VMSU later. Finally, let's all take a quick breath. Okay, we've just covered a lot of information, and we still have some more to go, but we're on the up and up. It's likely that you still have more questions in the coming weeks, so please keep this contact information for the VMSU in hand where you can find it. This information can also be found on the VISTA campus. And now, for a little excitement, it should be some fun. You guys all took the Terms and Conditions course, which was a requirement, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and it gave you a little rundown of what the do's and don'ts are. We want to make sure that everyone is clear about specific elements of the Terms and Conditions. So again, we're not going to go through the whole course, but we are going to take a quick quiz. We're going to read off a series of a few statements and scenarios. Or some people say scenarios. It's like either, tomato, tomato. Please use the same annotation tools we used earlier on the map to place your arrow in either the yes or the no section of the screen after we read the statement. So for example, we'll start with the first one. The question is, I can voice my political opinion using social media where I am identified as an AmeriCorps VISTA member.
Eric, they're like already got it. Like
wow.
They were like right on it before you even finished the question. And I like how, you know, I like to say, don't fall into peer pressure. If you're thinking yes, you do what you do you. Don't fall into the pressure.
I like Evan Weber says no so strongly. He's like, I'm off the chart.
He is. And I like John and Annie, man, they're both like, I'm staying over here. I think it's yes.
And the survey says, ooh, someone wrote the word no.
Survey says, okay, we're going to the next one. The answer is?
drum roll please, yes. So, yes you can, but you cannot do it while serving at your site because you're supposed to be doing VISTA-related functions, and you cannot use equipment at your site, meaning you cannot be doing it on your computer at your site, you cannot be using your Wi-Fi at your site. It has to be completely on your own time. Also, you cannot ever represent yourself as a spokesperson for the official AmeriCorps Vista or the Corporation for National and Community Service agency or your sponsor. So keep that in mind. When in doubt, you can always contact your state office, but just keep that in mind, yes, but there are some caveats.
Exactly. All right. You think they're ready for the next one, Eric?
I think so. They seem really fun.
All right. Yes or no, I can demonstrate in a political rally. What are they going to say?
Whoa, you guys are quick.
Well, I know. They're like lightning fast.
They're like, we want to get through this presentation.
That's very true. Yeah, so okay, there's a few no's. John's taking out on a limb. He's going against everyone again. All right, guys. Survey says,
let's see.
The answer is yes. Yes, you can, as long as you are not identified as a VISTA or perceived to be a VISTA. The perceived to be a VISTA note is especially important, especially for those who are serving in a small town or local to the area where you're serving. They may know you as Eric the Vista, even if you don't have your Vista polo on or any of those sorts of things. So when in doubt about a specific activity, consult your state office first, because we don't want to see you in violation.
Next question. I can ask people to donate money to a partisan political candidate as long as it's on my own time and I'm not identified as an AmeriCorps Vista member.
Ooh.
Excuse me.
This one's getting a little bit more 50-50.
Ooh, Jen, I love your last name. Hello. It's such a happy welcome to life. Hello. Seriously. Wow, this is actually pretty good. It's about 50-50, and it's a tough question because it could be yes, it could be no. I
do like how Evan right here is like, I am not committing. I am right in the middle, and it might be yes, it might be no, but I want to be right either way.
So let's see what the answer is. Alex Trebek says, well, actually, no, he would give the question, not the answer, so forget that. The answer is no. You are never, as a VISTA, able to raise money on behalf of a partisan candidate at any time during your VISTA year. It doesn't matter if it's on off-duty or at home, and it also doesn't matter while identified as a VISTA or not. The Hatch Act, which we talked about on Monday, is something you should review because it prohibits all fundraising for partisan political candidates. But you are able to raise funds in support of an issue on your own time and not identified as a VISTA.
Sorry, that's a tricky one. So Eric said, read that Hatch Act.
It is tricky.
So the next one. I can join my colleagues in prayer at my service site, yes or no? All right, another 50-50 group here, like someone just put a giant square, a rectangle. All right, so now it looks like the no's are winning over here.
Did someone draw a box?
Someone's drawn quite, I know, I told you the box.
So thinking inside the box so we can all think outside the box.
Someone put a heart, they like love this.
Oh, Valentine's Day is coming up, love it.
All right, everyone, so the survey says, yes, you can, but you can't proselytize or ask people to pray with you. Also, your VAD cannot ask you to pray. So if you're looking at your VISTA assignment description and one of the activities says, we'll lead daily prayer, that's an issue, and you can't do that. But you are free to practice your religion.
And since we're quickly on this, before we go to the next one, again, if there's something in your VAD that looks questionable or it looks in violation, please first go to your supervisor. If your supervisor is unsure or if you still have questions, then go to your state office because they're the ones who officially approved your VAD and will be able to make changes as necessary. So, some of you had asked earlier about getting jobs. Question is, I can have outside employment and or earn additional income while serving as a VISTA member.
Ooh, do you think they're going to get it right? A lot of them say yes. I like how, I just don't know who the giant square person is.
I know.
Are they a big square?
You know, if there were 4 people that put a square down, it would be 4 square. Wait, I didn't get your joke.
I don't remember. I thought you were going to say something about square dancing.
Ooh, I like square dancing.
I don't know what people are doing. I like how, man, people are getting really creative. I like someone put a dollar sign.
Well, let's see if you guys are right.
All right, what do they say? What is it, Eric?
Survey says, yes, but If you notice, it's kind of a trend. There's yes and or yes but. So yes, you can have a job outside of VISTA, as long as it does not conflict with your VISTA service, because VISTA is your primary responsibility. You cannot be employed by your sponsor, which means you cannot be, we had a VISTA who was asking, oh, I work at a school and as a VISTA, and our site has an after-school program that is willing to pay me as an outside job. That is not allowed because you'd be employed by the same place that you're serving as a VISTA, which is illegal. And then thirdly, your supervisor must approve of you having outside employment because it could conflict with your service hours. So you'll see the link on the screen. You can certainly screenshot it if you'd like, or take a picture of it. It's also on the VISTA campus, and we should be able to post that link in the chat because there is a form you need to fill out. And that should be pretty self-explanatory, hopefully.
All right, so you guys did pretty good. I do see someone here and said, like, I literally got all of these wrong. Like, if you did get those wrong, check out that VISTA member handbook that we talked about earlier today. So, do you need to be a cool, smart owl sitting on a book? Because that's what you're going to be if you're looking at this next slide. So, as I mentioned, if you have any questions about the limitations on political activities, or regulations or laws, please visit the Hatch Act. I cannot stress this enough to you. You need to know what these basic laws and federal regulations are so that you are in compliance. These can be found in Chapter 14 of the VISTA Member Handbook. So moving on from what is expected of you, let's talk about your rights and responsibilities. So prior to starting service, you should have taken the Civil Rights and Responsibilities course on the VISTA campus. To briefly recap, if you believe that you have experienced or witnessed discrimination or harassment, and if you feel safe and comfortable doing so, you should approach the person you suspect of engaging in harassing or discriminating behavior and discuss with them yourself. If that doesn't work, and if you don't feel comfortable or safe doing that, you can also talk to your VISTA supervisor. If you cannot go to your supervisor, or you do and the matter is not resolved to your satisfaction, you should contact your state office. Finally, if the issue is not resolved at the state office level, which, Eric, I've never heard of, have you ever heard?
Typically, it is resolved
at the state office, yeah. You can contact the corporation's Office of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness, and the contact information is on the screen. Regarding this as well, AmeriCorps VISTA is a federally funded program, and like anything supported by taxpayer funds, we need to ensure that the program is well run, doing what it's supposed to do, and spending money wisely. And like all federal agencies, the corporation has an Inspector General whose office is responsible for preventing and detecting fraud, waste, and abuse. Here are a few red flags that you should be aware of. If you're being asked to take over the work of someone who left, so if they're saying, man, I know Janie quit and she was, the shelter manager, but thank goodness we have this VISTA to take over all of her work. That is not allowed. You are not meant to replace staff, so that's a red flag. Or if most of what you're doing is administrative support for someone else, that's not appropriate work. So if your supervisor says, hey, I know your name is Sarah, but I'm going to call you Coffee Lady, that's not cool. You should be focusing on things outlined in your VAD, which ties directly to the overall project plan that was approved by the corporation, and I can tell you that coffee fetching is not one of those things. And also, the majority of your work should be capacity building, which means not direct service. You'll be learning more about this and what this looks like in the coming days, but you should be doing indirect service and not direct service. Once again, if you feel like you're being asked to do any of these things, talk about it with your supervisor first. If it's not resolved at that level, please talk to your corporation state office. And if it does not get resolved at that level, like I said, I've never heard of that happening, you can contact our Inspector General.
And so Jessica just mentioned a couple ways to get support in a dire emergency, but we also know that there are times where you might just have general questions or need some help. So we're going to remind you of some sources. If you kind of go from the bottom of the screen up, you see you are the VISTA, and there are times where you might have questions. Your first point of contact is your supervisor. They would answer questions about your VAD, about your workspace, your service site. Some of you also might have a VISTA leader. Not all projects do, but he or she can be a resource as well. Next up, you also do have a direct line of contact with your corporation state office. They have representatives in almost every state and territory working in state offices who can handle issues related to your VISTA sponsor, your supervisor, or emergencies that may affect your service. Also, your online classroom facilitator is available in support of you completing your PSO assignments. And don't forget, as Jessica said, Monday evening, I think it was around 6 p.m. Eastern, all of you got an email to log into your online classroom. So please make sure you do that because you have assignments due this coming Sunday, and you'll need to get to know who your facilitator is. And as we mentioned earlier, the amazing VISTA Member Support Unit, also known as VMSU, helps with questions about benefits, looking at my.americorps.gov, or when in doubt, you can call them, but you have to call them through the National Service Hotline. This information is all on the VISTA campus, and I know we say there's a lot on the VISTA campus. What I'll quickly say is, when you go to the campus, if you really can't find something, first look under the tabs, but also there's a search function which works out very, very well. And make sure you keep this information where you can find it.
All right. So, how to show your VISTA pride. That's Eric and I right there, and I'm just kidding. But we do look like that in the office generally.
Yes.
So one of the greatest things about being a VISTA member is being part of a wonderful family of VISTA. And it's like always once a VISTA, once a VISTA, always a VISTA. So as a community member of VISTA, we want you to be able to show your pride. You never know where you're going to make a connection with someone who knows about the program. So you should put the VISTA logo on your business card, in your email signature, and on your organization's website, social media sites, and brochures. The more visible you are, the more support you get for not only your project, but VISTA as a whole, which means more VISTAs and communities doing the work that we need to get done. The web links in the chat lead to places that you can get VISTA publications to use in your office and represent VISTA in the field.
And I'll just quickly interject and say the other day I was on the bus and I had a VISTA shirt or a VISTA pin on, and this guy came up to talk to me and he said, "Oh, AmeriCorps VISTA." It turns out he served in 1968, which was the third class of VISTA. And so as Jessica said, showing your VISTA pride, people will actually know and be really, really proud to see that logo. So
that's really true. So yeah, I mean, you'll never know where you're going to make another connection with maybe not even VISTA, but maybe in CCC or Peace Corps, since we're all kind of family. And don't forget to take pictures and share them with us through our Twitter or Facebook accounts. We may share your story or retweet your photo. And once I know there's been some questions about polos. Where do I get a cool tweet polo? So once you complete PSO Blend, you will receive an email with instructions on how to order your free, yes, I said free, VISTA polo, but that's not all. A VISTA lapel pin, oh, but wait, it gets better.
There's more.
Exactly, a reusable VISTA tote bag, which is brand new. You are the first class to be getting those, so lucky you. This is another reason why you need to successfully attend all PSO Blend sessions on time, do all your homework on time, because the only way you can get these is if you complete PSO Blend successfully. So
which we want to happen anyway.
Well, yes, but hopefully this incentivizes it a little bit.
Exactly. Because then you can shirt the issues instead of skirt the issues. Oh, that was awful.
Oh, man, Eric, you got to stop. I would say stop while you're ahead, but I don't know.
Cool, I'm behind, huh?
Exactly. So another few reminders, as Eric mentioned. If you haven't already, log into your VISTA online classroom. Do this today. Review your benefits, especially your health care benefits. Make sure you have health coverage or get documentation of your exemption from the requirement. You do both of these through healthcare.gov. Also, enroll in the VISTA Health Benefit option. As Eric mentioned, you'll have access to that in about a week. And you will be getting an email from IMG to enroll. Also, get fingerprinted and submit your criminal history questionnaire if applicable to you. You should have your fingerprinting materials. If not, you need to get them from your supervisor as soon as possible.
Continuing with the theme of what's next, we told you on Monday you should put these on your calendar, so if they're not on your calendar, please do so. Just a reminder, Sunday, February 6th, you have, what's that, 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your comprehension check, minute intro, how poverty is measured, and VAD worksheets are due. Again, these are all due in your online classroom. And even though they're due on Sunday, if you want to do them today or tomorrow, that's fine too. Wednesday, February 8th, 3 p.m. Eastern is your first virtual meetup. Quick note, for your virtual meetups, you will not get an automatic reminder of them. Those are also through your online classroom, but they're not set up like this WebEx is. So when you go into your online classroom, your facilitator will give you more information about how to log into those virtual meetup classes and virtual meetup sessions. And then finally, Sunday, February 12th, you have another assignment due, 13 lessons about poverty, and also your community profile. We do want to emphasize that these fieldwork assignments and the virtual meetups will enable you to further understand your service and the VISTA program, how your service fits into poverty, and get to know each other in the meetups and during this PSO blend process. So, with that, we're almost done. We have an evaluation to show you because, again, we value your opinion and look forward to improving this session for the future. So please take a moment to share your insights and your feedback through the poll on the side of your screen. We are, of course, going to take some questions. We're still answering questions in the Q&A panel. We're also taking questions on the phone. And I will just make a reminder quickly that it's 4:21 Eastern, so Jessica and I will be here at least until 4:30, another 10 minutes. So we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. If it is a personal question, please either email me later or we'll deal with it on the side. But Crystal, you want to quickly remind me how to answer questions over the phone?
Absolutely. To ask a question, please press *1. You will be prompted to unmute your phone and record your name. Again, it's *1 to ask a question.
And while we wait, let me just take a look in the Q&A to see if we answered a lot of the questions earlier. Healthcare, we answered that one. I see a question that says from Angela, how do we secure the trust to make the payment? I think this is an interest payment, but you log into My AmeriCorps in about a week, click on My Education Award, and click on Create Forbearance Request. You submit that, and then at the end of your year of service, you can submit what's called an interest accrual payment, which activates the National Service Trust to pay off the interest you earned during your year of service.
All right, so we got a question here. And man, George, I'm going to pick on you right now. Man, George, you've got to give me the hard one, don't you? The difficult political question. So George here asks, may I express a political opinion to my coworkers while on the clock? Does that count as influencing? What about historical opinions on past government performance? So with regard to your second question, like, does that count as influencing? Influencing is not necessarily the only issue that the Hatch Act addresses. It addresses political activity, which means, which includes expressing your political opinion. So you cannot do that while you are on the clock as a VISTA, as perceived to be a VISTA, wearing anything that says VISTA, saying on your social media as a VISTA, I think, blah, 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 blah. So, no, you cannot do that. You cannot express your political opinion to your coworkers on the clock. You need to be very careful about that with those political opinions. They cannot be while you're on site or perceived to be a VISTA. Eric, do you have anything to add to that? I was just going to say, I know there probably are a lot of questions about that topic and other topics, and we can answer the ones that we know, but what we typically say is, if in doubt, if there's a question, if there's something you want to do and you're like, I'm not sure, I'm uncertain, it's best to, preferably in writing, not so we can track it, but preferably in writing, contact your state office. Just that way they can do the research and they can let you know individually if what you want to do is approved or if it's something that they might need to shy you away from doing. But definitely always contact your state office because they're there for support. And also, it's good to let them know ahead of time what your thoughts are, because if you do something that's not approved, you literally could be removed from service, and we really don't want that to happen. And there was a question here about the assignments. Someone asked, can we maybe receive a document of all the assignments and when they're due? Hey, you already have this document. Eric sent it to you on the 17th of January, which was that a Friday or Tuesday? It was a Tuesday. So Eric sent that to you on Tuesday. It was titled Things You Need to Do to Prepare for Your VISTA Service. And the document in there is the guide to entering VISTA service. This has all of your due dates. You guys have had this for a long time, so just make sure you check your email. If you do not have it, if you cannot find it, please email Eric, and he will be more than happy to send that your way.
Great question from, I'm really bad with names. I'm going to say Kiwana. It could be Kijuana Butler. She asks, is wearing clothing with sponsor logos on them while serving in the community okay, or should we wear VISTA clothing? So that's a great question. Sometimes your VISTA supervisor or organization might provide you with clothing that has their logo on it. Sure, I mean, they want you to wear that, that's great. We do strongly encourage, since you'll get a VISTA polo, that you try to wear that at least once a week so you can also let people know that you are a VISTA. But yet, if it's your sponsor's clothing, we have no authority over it per se because they're giving it to you. So sure, that's certainly eligible and doable.
Another question here, I like this one, it's not a topic we've talked about, but I know some people had questions about it. Andrew asks, can you explain the non-competitive advantage at the end of service? So what Andrew is referencing is non-competitive eligibility.
NCE.
Woohoo. So NCE is a status that you receive at the end of successfully completing a VISTA service term that is good for 1 year after you end service. And it allows you a special status when applying for federal jobs. So what that means is that it's non-compete, so you don't have to compete with the general population when applying for federal positions. It allows the agency, like the person you're applying to not have to go through as many obstacles, and it allows you to compete in a smaller pool of people. It's a great benefit. It's good for 1 year after service, but it can be extended to up to 3 years, depending on if you were in the military or if you were in grad school during that time. That extension is determined by the hiring agency, so it's nothing that CNCS does. So if you're applying to FEMA, FEMA would be the one that would extend it. There are more resources on the VISTA campus about NCE and how people have used it. I used non-competitive eligibility when I ended my VISTA service year. It was a great benefit. So yeah, I definitely recommend you taking a look at that and hopefully being able to use it.
Let me see. Crystal, are there any, we have about 3 more minutes on the official presentation before we close and stay for a few more minutes. Are there any questions on the phone? Crystal?
Yes, we do have one question on the phone lines coming from Sarah Elena. Your line is open.
Hi, I'm calling from El Paso, Texas, and I just wasn't able to log in online, but I've been following the conference through my phone line the whole time, and I'm just wondering how I get counted as being in attendance of this.
If you send me an email, Eric Powell, I'll talk to you offline about this, but send me an email and we'll communicate.
Okay.
I see. I'll answer this question really quickly, and then I think Jessica has one more question. So, how many hours per week are we required for full-time work? I keep seeing confusion about 1,700 hours and 35 hours a week. So, AmeriCorps State and National, which is a different program, they're hours-based. They serve 1,700 hours, and they're done. AmeriCorps VISTA is based on time, 365 days. You serve full-time, which is typically 40 hours a week. Your supervisor is aware of this, and again, your actual hours for the day, 9 to 5, 7 to 3, they'll determine that. But as a VISTA, you serve 365 days a year for the full year, and you're serving full-time about 40 hours a week. And the quick last thing I'll say is, I know there's a misnomer. Some people say, oh, well, this is a 24/7. You're not supposed to be serving 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you're supposed to be available to your project. So if there's a major thing you're working on and it requires an evening or a weekend event on occasion, you need to be available to do that.
One quick question. I know we're almost at the top of the hour, and I want to catch most people before they jump off. As Eric mentioned, we will be staying on to answer some additional questions. But one thing, I know some of you have joined this webinar as a group. So maybe 4 of you are on one computer right now. For your virtual meetups, you must be logged in individually. So each person is going to need to have a computer. and be logged in for those virtual meetups. There is not a way for you to be sharing computers, and there may be a chance that you're in a different group than, you know, the person sitting right next to you. So just wanted to give that as a heads up. You know, if you're, you know, talk to your project, make sure they're going to have that computer for you for that first virtual meetup. We just want to see you guys prepared. So just wanted to give you that little heads up.
Because it's now 4:30, our time is officially up, but as Jessica said, we'll be here for a few more minutes, but we do want to officially close so that if there's anyone who has to leave, then we'll try to answer as many questions in the webinar in the next few minutes as we can in the Q&A section. So, thank you again for your participation today. We know it was required, but we also hope you got a lot out of it. We want to, again, welcome you to Vista. You're in day 3. You only have 362 amazing days left. Great awesomeness. And we wish you much success. And we'll leave you with this quote from Lyndon Johnson. Your pay will be low, the conditions of your labor will often be difficult, but you will have the satisfaction of leading a great national effort, and you will have the ultimate reward which comes to those who serve their nation and who serve their fellow man. Thank you very much.
So we did have a question here. I don't know if she's still joined. She said, can we use the health reimbursement for over-the-counter drugs? Eric, I think that answer is no. I don't think you can use it for, like, cold medicine or anything like that, right? No, you can't use it for any of those sorts of things. Yeah, so it's only for prescriptions.
Another healthcare-related question, Kamisha asks, does the dental office have to be in a specific network if you already have insurance? It's kind of a complicated question, so I'll answer it in that our healthcare provider / contractor, International Medical Group, has they should have a list on their website of providers. You don't necessarily have to be in network, but when you get the link to join or to create your My IMG website account, sorry, I can't talk today. When you create that account, there will be instructions as to how to submit receipts, and then there's also contact information for IMG, so you can ask them specifically and say, I'm in this network, I have this doctor or this dentist, will this work? That's probably the best bet just because it's somewhat of a specific question, and I don't want to lead you wrong since they're the experts.
And another question about the health benefit. Someone asked, can you tell me the difference between health insurance and the health benefit? So one quick thing I just want to make clear, the VISTA program does not offer health insurance. We offer 2 different benefits. The first is our health care allowance. So the health care allowance is for those of you who have health insurance, whether that's through your parent, through a spouse, through the marketplace, or if you have Medicaid or Medicare. What that is you have to have other health insurance, and we provide you an allowance that can reimburse you for costs, such as prescriptions or co-pays. That's our first benefit, the health care allowance. The second is for those of you who are legally exempt from having to have health insurance. We offer a health safety net plan. It's not health insurance. It does not cover pre-existing conditions, but it does cover most pre-existing prescriptions. Like I said, it's not health insurance, but it offers some good benefits for you. So those are the main differences. More information is on the IMG website. But yeah, that's the basic overview.
Nice. Let me see what this question is. If we have questions that we either missed or need clarified and you are not clarifying them because this question has been answered verbally, who should we contact for clarification? So, Amber, I apologize. The questions that we said were answered verbally, we tried to answer as best as we could, but if there's additional questions and it's specific, you can certainly email me directly and I will point you in the correct direction as to how to get your question answered. We don't want to misrepresent or give the wrong information, but if there is more information you need, please email me, Eric Powell, and I'll defer you to the correct question.
Go ahead.
So there's another question that came in about the AmeriCorps Vista healthcare allowance and the $6,850 since it's a reimbursable expense. It doesn't count as income. It doesn't initially count as income, but I think the question, I'm assuming the question ultimately relates to taxes and whether or not it would be reported on your taxes, and I believe the answer is yes. We can clarify that, but I believe because even though it's a reimbursable expense, it's technically income that's being paid for something on your behalf, which would mean in calendar year 2009, whatever next calendar year is.
2018.
Thank you. When you go to My Tax Statements to pay your federal taxes for 2017, you'd have an additional federal form that shows your health care allowance.
Yeah, so we can definitely follow up with you on that. That's a question we don't get very often, so thank you for stumping us. But yeah, we can definitely follow up with you on that, just to verify that that's correct. There is a question here: if you're called to military service during your year, are you still eligible for any of the end of service benefits? So if you get called to military service where you can no longer serve your term, that's something that you need to talk to your state office about. If it is considered a compelling personal circumstance to have to end service, you may receive a prorated end of service benefit. Unfortunately, you would not receive non-competitive eligibility, but that's something you'd want to talk to your state office about if that did come up.
So we're going to answer just a couple more questions for about 4 more minutes, and then, again, we'll follow up as needed, but there are a few more coming in that we want to try to get to really quickly. Again, I see a bunch of questions still about food stamps. Just a reminder that that's not a benefit that's administered by the AmeriCorps Vista program. Yes, you can print one of your service letters in about a week and provide it to the food stamp office to see if they'll do anything for you, but there's no guarantee that by giving them the service letter, it'll give you any additional benefit because they administer that benefit and it's based on different criteria. And Crystal, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, are there any questions on the phone?
No, sir, there are no questions from the phone lines.
Okay. Let's see, anything else you see, Jessica, that looks, that we haven't answered that looks critical?
I think we've gotten most of it. As Eric mentioned, if there are any questions, you know, if you have questions specific about benefits, you can always contact the Vista Member Support Unit. Eric's also offered, if you have some questions, you can ask him. But also, the first place you want to go is the Vista campus. They have a lot of good resources on these things. But yeah, we do appreciate your patience and your bearing with us here as we try to get through all of these questions. Yeah.
The last question I see a couple questions on, I think Jessica talked about it earlier, where people were asking about income-based repayment versus forbearance versus public service loan forgiveness. They're all different programs. In most cases, you don't have to choose. You can, for example, you could be on an income-based repayment plan and still participate in submitting your forbearance request and apply for public service loan forgiveness. Someone asked, is one repayment plan better than the other? It's not an easy question for us to answer because a lot of it's based on how much you owe in student loans, and yes, right now as a Vista, your income is fairly low, so a lot of people do decide to go on the income-based repayment plan because since their income is low, their payments could be as low as 0, but there's no guarantee. So I would say a lot of people choose the IBR income-based repayment, but you might want to do a little more research on the Vista Campus website and your student loan website to see if there's any other benefits that are offered that could help.
And there is another question here, and we'll go to the last one because her name is Jessica, and that's my name. Yeah. Jessica here asks, what are we using the service letters for again, aside from SNAP? So it's a great question. So your service letters can be used a lot of times. People such as landlords don't know what Vista is, and they need to know that someone is employed in a sense. So sometimes people will use the letter, the currently serving Vista letter, that'll be available to you in about a week, just to give to a landlord or someone who needs to understand that, you know, yes, I do have income coming in, I am an AmeriCorps Vista member, and this is what that means. That's it. Eric, do you think of any other uses for that other than like SNAP or public benefits?
The only thing I can think, and I think Jessica mentioned it earlier in the webinar, is sometimes landlords might need it to show proof so they can give you a discount perhaps or not charge you extra fees. I've heard of other Vistas, I don't know if they use their service letter for it, but other Vistas have said they've been able to form kind of individual partnerships with grocery stores or other places by telling that they were a Vista and showing the service letter, and maybe they get a discount on gas or something. So it never hurts to have it handy just in case you're having a conversation or someone wants to show proof that you are serving as an amazing AmeriCorps Vista member.
That is very true, and I think with that, Eric, we're gonna leave it. You guys are amazing. Thank you for what you're taking on. Happy third day of service, and hopefully you'll join us again for another future webinar, and enjoy PSO Blend.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it, and have a great, great day, and don't forget to do your assignments due on Sunday.
Thank you all. Have a great and wonderful day.